smartest.
Let's take you now to Philadelphia. The NTSB board member there, Robert Sumwalt, with his latest update. Let's listen.
And we look forward to that opportunity. We will be meeting with him in the next few days. While we're talking on the topic of interviews, we have started interviewing passengers who were injured, passengers that are currently in the hospital. We want to find out their perspective of things. We want to find out where they were seated and their injury patterns so that we can start correlating their seating with the injuries for accident survival, crash survivability issues, crashworthiness issues. I've said before that there's a forward-facing video. It's technically called, it's a track image recorder, and we've got some information from our review of that. We've got good quality video up to the point of derailment. We can see the track being illuminated by the train's headlight, and it also shows the speed of the train. And so that has been what we've been able to do from that is create somewhat of a timeline. 65 seconds before the end of the recording, the train speed went above 70 miles per hour. 43 seconds before the end of the recording, the train speed exceeded 80 miles per hour. 31 seconds before the end of the recording, the train speed was going through 90 miles per hour. 16 seconds before the end of the recording, the train speed was going through 100 miles per hour. Just before entering the curve is when the engineer applied the engineer-induced braking to put it into emergency braking. And I'll describe it as seconds, mere seconds into the turn. We could see the train tilting approximately 10 degrees to the right, and then the recording went blank. Some other things that we've been able to do today: we've developed test and inspection plans for the rail cars and the locomotive. We've examined the pre-departure inspections for train 188 before it left Union Station 2 nights ago, which includes the pre-departure brake test. And there are no anomalies noted in any of those inspection records. We will continue to examine all of the inspection records for the train. Today we interviewed the Amtrak manager in charge of training and qualification of railroad engineers. We've also interviewed the train dispatchers who were involved in dispatching this particular train. We're reviewing the track inspection records. One of the records that we have is the track geometry records. You may recall that the day before the accident, a track geometry inspection vehicle drove over the rail 2, track 2, that this train was traveling on. And there were no anomalies noted with the track inspection, track geometry inspection. We've completed the on-site 3D laser scanning of the first 2 cars. Of course, the first 2 cars were those that were damaged the most. That would be the business class and the quiet car. One of the things I said we would be doing would be to test the signals, the train control signals that are alongside the railroad track. We've tested most of those. The only ones that we have not tested are those ones that are in the vicinity of the derailment site, just because we haven't been able to have good access to those, but we are going to test those tomorrow. With the track signals that we have already inspected or downloaded the recorders from, there are no anomalies noted with those recorders, with those signal recorders, with the signals themselves. No anomalies noted. The NTSB has released the site back to Amtrak. One of the things we'll be doing in the coming week, we've got to wait for the track to be repaired and the catenary to be repaired. One of the things we will do is a site distance test. That's basically where we will take an exemplar train under similar lighting and environmental conditions, lighting and weather conditions. We'll take a train and see how far out that curve would come into vision. People have asked if this train was operating on time, and train 188 departed Philadelphia, the 30th Street station. It departed Philadelphia on time, the 30th Street station, so it was running on time at that point. Somebody asked earlier today in one of my one-on-one interviews what type of locomotive it was, and I've checked on that. It was an electrically powered locomotive, so of course it receives its electricity from the overhead catenary. It's called an ACS 64. That stands for Amtrak City Sprinter. This is one of the newer models that Amtrak is placing into service. And this particular locomotive was placed into service just over a year ago. I want to thank all of the, as I said yesterday, all of the first responders. We have received excellent cooperation from the parties to the investigation, which would include Amtrak, the Federal Railroad Administration, and also would include the City of Philadelphia for everything that they've been doing. We want to thank the mayor's office and in particular Mayor Nutter. We appreciate all of their support and assistance. In just a moment, I'll call for questions. I'd be glad to take your questions if you would. Raise your hands. I'll call on you and then state your name and affiliation. And let's just start right here.
Mr. Sumwalt, Matt House from ABC News. Have you been able to determine if the speed increases were done manually? Did somebody increase the speed manually?
Matt wants to know if the speed increases were, if we can tell, were done manually. And at this point, we don't know that. We think that we will be able to, when we interview the engineer, we would like to find out those types of things. But just from the track image recorder, it just shows the speed alone, so it doesn't tell how the speed got there. There's a question right here.
All right, sir. Mark Morales from the Wall Street Journal. There's been a lot of talk about the PTC as of late. The installation of a speed traffic enforcement circuit, would that have prevented the incident? And if so, do you think that should be installed between now and by the time the PTC is up and running?
Yeah, so to make sure that I get the last part of your question, so the question basically, I think, centers around positive train control, which Amtrak refers to as AXIS, stands for Automatic Civil Speed Enforcement System. That's Amtrak's version of positive train control. And the question is, would positive train control have prevented this accident? Let me answer that by saying that positive train control is designed, one of the four things that it is designed to do is to prevent overspeed derailments caused by overspeed. So here we are looking at an overspeed situation that did derail. So from that, I can confidently say that an operational positive train control system would have prevented this. I can say confidently positive train control would have prevented this accident. Was there a second part of that I did not quite get?
Right. But the signal system, where that's on the opposite side of the train system that would have kicked in on the south end, that wasn't on the northern side. Should the installation of that system be in there for the positive train control?
The guy in the background of the camera, would you please move? Thank you. Thank you very much.
For the positive train control gets installed by the end of the year. If that signal system that would trigger.
The system that Amtrak currently has is basically the equivalent of positive train control, and Amtrak has that system installed through a great deal of the Northeast Corridor, but it's currently not installed on this section of the track. Yes, sir.
Can you tell us, in terms of what you found so far in terms of the speed, is that a rapid acceleration going into? You went through the steps of how fast that is to a layman we don't understand. Is that a rapid acceleration?
Is that a rapid acceleration? I think that's a subjective evaluation. What's rapid and what's not rapid. I just lay the figures out there and let them stand on their own. It's a question right here.
All right, we've been listening to the latest update from the NTSB, and the main headline tonight is that they've been doing testing, and among the testing was the video camera mounted at the front of the train. It proved that they say that the train rapidly accelerated from 70 miles an hour to 100 miles an hour from about a minute out before the crash actually happened. That acceleration cannot be explained at this point. Was it manual? Was it automatic? What on earth happened there with the engineer? That is the central question of the investigation.
And we also learned that the engineer does plan to speak with the NTSB. Of course, we'll continue to keep an eye on the situation. That's going to do it for us at 5 today. We'll see you again at 11.
The news at 6 starts right now.